Right, I think it's time we had a little chat about 7-string guitars. That extra string, the low B, low A, or whatever ridiculously low tuning you want to put it down to. It sort of calls out to you, doesn't it? Grabs you by the ear, especially if you're listening to anything remotely heavy, let alone playing it. You hear that sound, the sheer weight. But actually making that jump from my trusty 6-string, honestly, it felt like a big leap for me. It wasn't straightforward at all. So what was it? What finally pushed me over the edge and got me fully convinced that my 6 strings just weren't cutting it anymore? Well, it wasn't some grand revelation watching one particular video or just discovering one single band. Nope, for me, it was a whole collection of things. I guess it was more of like a playlist that just lived rent-free in my head and haunted my headphones. And they just constantly made me think again and again, that noise, that sound. I need to be able to make that noise. So today, consider this me spilling the beans. These are the 10 heaviest riffs that finally made me think, right, I need to make the jump. 7 strings it is, I can't do this on a 6-string. Kicking things off with Korn's Here to Stay in A standard tuning. This one's fun, but definitely tricky. A band that basically defined the 7-string for so many people. The cool thing about Korn's signature sound is it mostly comes from alternate picking the single notes and really heavy palm muted chug notes, especially with that bass pushing through the clang 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 of Fieldy's bass and the cool weird notes they play over the top with octavers and delay and reverb and all that kind of stuff. Korn have a great use of syncopation, so they always sync up the bass and the drums and the guitars with the drums as well and the bass, and everything feels really cohesive and feels like a full band, especially when they add in those dissonant high textures. The low A string in Korn's songs is the foundation, the reason why they play a 7-string to begin with. The tension and the clarity of the A string in standard tuning is so crucial for them achieving that specific percussive sound, because they're using Steve Vai's signature guitars and they come set up in B standard and they drop the whole thing a whole step down. Learning this song was epic. It sounds heavy as hell on paper, but it's actually quite simple and a little bit repetitive. It basically really showed me that groove is what really matters, and it's more important than just technical complexity. Next up is Whitechapel, Saw is the Law in a drop G tuning. That's basically the same as the Korn A standard tuning, but with the A tuned down to G, kind of like drop D, but lower. This song focuses heavily on that low G string with a slower, deliberate pacing. It features things like heavy palm muting alongside sliding notes, bending notes, basically providing a grinding weight throughout the whole song. The 7-string facilitates the super low tuning. It helps you keep those slow bends and those low slides on the low G string sounding incredibly heavy and controlled. This song was the first song I played in drop G, I think, which when I started learning on a 7-string, I pretty much only played drop A all the time. So this was pretty low and I needed to buy new strings because the ones I had were nowhere near thick enough to handle that tuning stability and keep the notes in pitch without going all wobbly and flappy and all over the place. Because I can remember when I first heard this song and was like, Jesus Christ, that's low. I thought drop A was low. How low is this? So I had to get thicker strings on my 7-string again in order to play this one, and I was pleasantly surprised because it sounded heavy as hell. Moving on to a Muir with Solar Flare Homicide in drop A tuning. Similar kind of fun riff to Saw is the Law by Whitechapel, very groove focused. This song is heavily focused on rhythm and that signature Muir bounce. It has simple, syncopated, single note patterns, lots of heavy palm muting, especially on that low A string, and it has open string chugs and loads of breakdowns. Drop A on a 7-string provides that essential low end weight needed for a Muir sound and their impactful breakdowns. Yeah, people knock Muir for just playing simple riffs, just loads of open notes on the low A string, but here in this track, it was undeniable proof that massive impact doesn't always need complexity. It was just purely about playing single note riffs on that low A string, riding that groove, and getting that specific heavy bounce that made it feel like owning a 7-string was the only real option. Next up is No Pity for a Coward by Suicide Silence, another drop A riff. And An absolute fretting hand nightmare. Just thinking about it gives me cramps. This is another song in the drop A tuning. It features aggressive palm mute riffs, chromatic runs, powerful open string chugs, and plenty of iconic breakdowns. But the main challenge here lies in the demanding fretting hand work, involving some wide hand stretches and fast position shifts. Having a 7-string guitar is essential for the drop A power inherent in the riff, but the difficulty also highlights the physical demands of navigating that wider fretboard effectively on a 7-string guitar, especially when dealing with riffs requiring large intervals or complex movements incorporating that added low string. Hearing No Pity for a Coward for the first time, I was instantly hooked. It was kind of like when I heard the self-titled Slipknot album. It just had that raw aggression, and it made me absolutely want to go out and buy a 7-string guitar just to sound just like them. But for me, learning that wasn't about the speed or conquering the notes, it was the weird hand position. It's all pretty much on the 1, 4 and 5, and with an extra wide fretboard on a 7-string, I find it really hard to do that, and even thinking about it now gives me carpal tunnel in that fretting hand. Next up, Divine Heresy, Failed Creation, in B standard tuning. You just hear that tight rhythmic pick in, and you just know Dino Cazares is back in full force. This song features incredibly tight, syncopated, heavily palm muted riffing in B standard. It's one of the highest tunings in this entire video. They managed to prove that B standard can still sound heavy as. Dino's machine gun picking is insanely precise, often locking perfectly with complex double bass patterns, and they managed to beautifully contrast their heavy epic verses with big, epic, catchy choruses. Dino Cazares' style is extended range guitars. 7 strings are essential for his signature low-tuned, percussive, rhythmically intricate sound, and provide the foundation for both the verses and the choruses. It's undeniable, Dino's picking is so precise, it's absolutely relentless. For me, when I first heard this, the appeal instantly was the machine-like precision combined with that sheer low-tuned power. Being able to successfully execute those riffs that fast and that tight and precise felt like an absolute benchmark. Mastering this level of aggressive rhythm work became a goal that pointed directly towards having to own a 7-string just to be able to master that ability. Up next is Chelsea Grin's Recreant in drop A tuning. If you want disgustingly heavy breakdowns from a specific MySpace music era, then this band have got you covered. Heavy, palm muted chugs, weird chromatic chord riff patterns, and pinch harmonics, this song has got all of it. It also features famously slow, crushing breakdowns using space effectively. And my favourite thing is it taught me how to use sludgy dissonant chords that don't sound nice at all, because that is basically the point. Having a 7-string for this song is indispensable purely for the tuning and the sheer sonic weight. The breakdowns rely entirely on that low string foundation, giving you the ability to voice uniquely dissonant or sludgy chords is easily enhanced by the extended range and the wider fretboard. This riff basically defined a certain sound for me, and I've covered it on the channel plenty of times now. That heavy, atmospheric, MySpace era deathcore was just absolutely on point. And at the point when I first heard Chelsea Grin, I had to rebuy a 7-string because I'd sold it before, just so I could learn those songs because they were absolutely insane. Up next is Carnifex Light in My Face in drop A tuning. This track is absolute pure deathcore brutality. This song is in a drop A tuning, and it features things like absolutely fast as hell tremolo pick sections with super cool tapping with the pick, and it throws in pinch harmonics whenever it feels like it. Similarly to when I first heard Suicide Silence, hearing this song hit hard instantly and just demanded attention. These guys were pretty much playing deathcore before other bands were even on the scene, and they easily went unnoticed, and I don't know why. Learning this song and mastering that pick tapping and those pinch harmonics just everywhere all over the song pushed me further down a path of solidifying the fact that I needed a 7-string, and I could only play these riffs if I had one. So there you have it, 7 riffs that were my absolute aha moment to finally loving a 7-string. How about you? What riffs made you love a 7-string or even an 8-string? I mean, I'm a bit of a boomer now, and as much as I hate to admit it, most of the bands that got me into 7-strings, their albums are now like 20 years old. So hopefully this video has helped get you young whippersnappers inspired to learn some old, old songs from the MySpace era when I grew up and started learning to play guitar as a teenager, because now I'm an old man. Let me know in the comments what songs you've been learning and what songs I should try out, because I pretty much only know all the old songs that I grew up listening to. And I'll see you guys later. Bye everyone.